1 hour later. 2 hours later.
Oscar De La Hoya put Boots Ennis as a duck, man. That's too funny. But you know what's even funnier? What's even funnier is that Xander Zayas, after he beat Patrick Teixeira on June 8th, to be exact, he called out Vergil Ortiz.
Give me your thoughts on how you feel about facing those future opponents. Vergil Ortiz.
Man, I feel like I'm ready. I feel like I'm ready. I showed it today. Again, before you go 12, you gotta go 10. I did it in amazing fashion against a former world champion. I showed him that he can hang in there with me. Now I'm ready for the big names.
Then subsequently, Oscar De La Hoya, after Xander Zayas beat Patrick Teixeira, said that he would love to make the fight between Vergil Ortiz and Xander Zayas. Yeah, that was on June 9th. You know what I'm saying? And then after that, you know, after Xander Zayas washed Damian Sosa, he said, hey man, I want Vergil Ortiz.
Of course, Vergil Ortiz, I feel is a big name in the division. I feel like it's an exciting name to watch. Puerto Rico, Mexico. Vergil Ortiz, Xander Zayas for next year. I think it's something that we can make happen. I dominated a really good fighter and sparring partner with Vergil Ortiz, so I feel like I can do very well against the top guys.
And then shortly after that, you know, fast forward after Boots Ennis bowed out of fighting Vergil Ortiz for whatever reason, whether you want to call it a duck, that's up to you. And it ain't none of my business, you know, but I do know we need to acknowledge boxing as a business, and every fight that doesn't happen, it doesn't mean that somebody ducked. But Xander Zayas, he came out and he said, hey man, they gave me an hour to accept the fight with Vergil Ortiz. I accepted it within a minute. So now I have a question for y'all. If this fight doesn't transpire, if this fight doesn't come into fruition, does that mean that Vergil Ortiz ducked Xander Zayas? I mean, is that the truth or no? Y'all let me know, man.
If I tell you I'm good, probably you will say I'm boasting. But if I tell you I'm no good, you know one line.
Yo, what's good, Boxing Talk family? It's your boy, Dr. PGNGM. Praise God to get buddy back for another YouTube video. Banger, man. Yes, sir. Yes, man. I don't know what time it is. The doctor's in the house, man. So check this out. As I showed you in the intro, man, Xander Zayas has came out and volunteered as tribute, like it's Hunger Games.
I volunteer as tribute. I believe we have a volunteer.
You know, he volunteered to fight Vergil Ortiz next because he's been calling him out for a long time, you know, and since his call outs have passed, you know, and it transpired that Jaron Boots Ennis is not fighting Vergil Ortiz like he's saying he was willing to do, you know, it's still up in the air of whether the fight will go down. You know, it's still finalized, but as you saw in that tweet right there, you know, according to a lot of boxing outlets, Vergil Ortiz hasn't finalized it on his side. Now, I want to be very clear, man. This fight is all this is happening right now because, you know, somehow, some way the negotiations got lost in translations between Matchroom and Eddie Hearn and Golden Boy and Oscar De La Hoya as it pertains to, you know, Jaron Boots Ennis fighting Vergil Ortiz, you know, both their fighters, you know, and a lot of people are calling Boots a duck, including Oscar De La Hoya, famously, right? And I disagree with that. You know, I think that fights sometimes happen and sometimes they don't happen, but just because they don't happen doesn't mean that somebody necessarily ducked, especially the fighter. I think everybody has to be on board. Now, I will say this, for the people calling him a duck, I'm not going to be mad at you. You know what I'm saying? Call him whatever you want, because on the surface, it does look like he ducked, because Jaron Boots Ennis, his whole career has been predicated off of Terrence Crawford doesn't want to fight him. Terrence Crawford is avoiding me, even though they're in separate divisions. You know what I'm saying? And then when it comes to the other champions, whether it's Mario Barrios, Montes Stanionis, or Brian Norman Jr., what is the narrative that he's pushing? And the people that support him, what are they pushing? That the other champions don't want to fight him, right? So now, naturally, he can't look like he wants to fight. He doesn't want to fight anybody, you know, and the moment that he looks like he's avoiding a fight or he's reluctant to go in a fight, then he's going to be framed as a duck, and rightfully so, because his whole career campaign has been predicated off of people avoiding him. So naturally, I get it. You know, it looks like right now that he's the one that caused the Vergil Ortiz and Boots Ennis fight not to come into fruition. So I get that part. You know what I'm saying? It just looks bad. You know, the optics don't look good, Boots. It don't look good. However, I want to say that sometimes things do get lost in translation between, you know, different promotional companies, different entities, different managers, different fighters, you know, especially when you have a middleman like Big Turk at the center of it all. So, you know, everything doesn't go smoothly. Now, I'm not giving them out. You know, I'm not giving them out, but I am saying that it's hard for me to believe that somebody that's not even in the same division is ducking somebody else, you know, especially when you're a champion in the 147 like Boots is. Why would you duck somebody that's at 154? How could you even be considered a duck? Now, if he goes up to 154 and then this fight was proposed and he doesn't want it after he's committed to 154, not when he's answering questions on hypotheticals based on him moving up to 154, then I'll be like, yeah, man, he ducked him. But a lot of times people are asking hypothetical questions and they're working in the capacity of an interviewee, not the interviewer. They can't control the questions that are asked. So they just answer the questions accordingly, you know, saying that's what I think it is, in my personal opinion. I'm not really big on calling people duck sauce, duck soup, none of that, man. Y'all be calling people duck so much. I'm starting to think, man, we just had Thanksgiving. You ain't getting no turkey? You know what I'm talking about? You out here looking like Elmer Fudd, you know what I'm saying? Hunting rabbit and duck. You know what I'm talking about? You hungry, brother? You hungry, sister? You want duck that bad? You want to point out these ducks that bad? Sometimes fights don't happen. Case in point, Xander Zayas. I would love this fight. But Xander Zayas, as I have showed you, Xander Zayas has been calling out Vergil Ortiz for a long time. He's a young up-and-coming prospect. You know, we know that he answered the call. But did Bob Arum answer the call? Oh, Bob Arum is important. He's significant. He's imperative to this situation because he is the promoter of Xander Zayas. Xander Zayas ain't fighting nobody under Top Rank if Bob Arum don't give his stamp of approval. If he does not give his stamp of approval, if he doesn't give his go or his green light, it's not happening. And he's not going. You know what I'm saying? And we know Bob Arum, he's very reluctant with some of his fighters to put them in dangerous situations, especially early on. You know what I'm saying? With the exception of Big Baby Anderson, you know, he let him go. And you see what happened. He got decapitated by Martin Bakoli. You know what I'm saying? The bad man out the Congo, you know what I'm saying? From the Democratic Republic of Congo, you know? So, but we could also go back to other fighters that he held on pretty closely, right? Like Lomachenko and Raymond Muratalla. There's no coincidence that Shakur, who was on the same stable as those guys, the aforementioned gentlemen in Muratalla and Lomachenko, they've been on the same stable forever. Shakur didn't get those fights and he was actively calling them out. So, you know, I'm not saying that Raymond Muratalla ducked anybody. I'm just saying that Bob Arum didn't let them go. And my point is that if this fight doesn't happen, maybe Bob Arum or Top Rank didn't give their stamp of approval. But oh no, I don't want to hear none of y'all say that, because y'all didn't even consider that with Boots, right? You ain't give him that. Right? I know you're going to say, oh, because Eddie Hearn said that the fight was going to happen. He wanted the fight too. Sometimes things don't work out despite what you say. Just because you say you're willing to make the fight doesn't mean that the fight is a finalized go, concrete go, definitive go. Now, like I said, the optics look bad. However, if Xander Zayas and Vergil Ortiz don't fight, I don't think Vergil Ortiz necessarily ducked him. You know, but it's going to look bad on Vergil Ortiz again because he has vocalized, and said, you know, very adamantly, constantly, loudly, frequently, he said that he will fight anybody at any time. And if a fight doesn't happen, it's not because he didn't sign off on it. So, my brother, if this fight doesn't happen, because Xander Zayas has signed off on it, who we gonna blame? You know what I'm saying? Boxing Talk family, y'all talk to me, man. Am I tripping? I don't think Boots Ennis necessarily ducked. I do think it looks bad. And if this fight doesn't happen, which I don't think Xander Zayas and Vergil Ortiz will happen, like I said, man, Xander Zayas and Vergil Ortiz, I won't believe it, man, until they're both in the ring and that first round bell goes ding. I won't believe this fight's going to happen, but I think it looks very promising. I love this fight. And Xander Zayas, I got to respect him for taking a major step up. And Vergil Ortiz, if he accepts this fight, I gotta respect him too for taking on all comers, you know, and being a man of his word. Because if he does it, then if Jerron Boots Ennis dug Vergil Ortiz, I need Oscar De La Hoya to make that same graphic with Xander Zayas holding Vergil Ortiz looking like Y'all let me know what y'all think about that, man. Don't forget to hit that like button as always. But most importantly, remember, with God, we can do anything. Without God, we're nothing. Y'all know what time it is. The doctor's out. Peace.
From the hood to college, both worlds they had to meet. 6 degrees between us, so cold we're about to freeze. But we're Florida boys, hot takes, we bring the heat. We're moving the culture, the engineers to the streets.